Hello, people! Or I probably have to start. Hello, humans! Donald Duck is talking here. Well, yeah, it's funny. I got cold like during last live stream, and I still didn't recover. Um, we'll see how much I can talk. My voice is funny, I know. I can laugh from this myself, but yeah. I guess you guys also want to see some terraform as well. So if I suddenly cannot say something, or if you don't understand what I'm saying, uh, just let me know. And as always, it's pretty easy. If you have any questions or comments or feedback, don't hesitate, write a comment. Maybe I will read it. Um, yeah, well, let's get started, right? What can possibly go wrong? I'd like to mention that Terraform Weekly. Oh yeah, I need to find this mute button because if I start coughing, where is this mute button? I have no clue. Maybe. Yeah, I think I found it. That's right. It works. Okay, so Terraform Weekly newsletter is growing nicely. There are more than 4,000 subscribers already, and I receive some feedback from people. Some people say that they like it. Some people say that they don't like it. That's really good. Thanks for providing feedback. I try to adjust as much as possible with the content which I find. And in general, yeah, just keep feedback coming, please. And once more, thanks a lot to Firefly for sponsoring the last 4 episodes of this newsletter. It's a pleasure to have sponsors like this there. So yeah, I think it will be all right. Next week we'll have Stira as a sponsor of the month, and there will be quite interesting content from them coming in the near future. Thank you very much, Mert, for suggestion. Don't die. That's really a good start. Really optimistic. Thank you very much. I will try to not die at least in the foreseen future. But yeah, it's not always my decision because sometimes I rely on open source contributors, right? I mean, not so much contributors, but people who are sponsoring my work in the open source. And I have to say that being kind of active open source contributor and leave just from open source donation is a myth. Is a myth. It's such a myth, which I'm sure that there are people who can do this. And I was able to do this myself for quite a long time because amount of contributions was pretty good, and I was able to get a lot of things done. Now, when I have, I don't know what is the reason. I mean, of course, people can blame economy or whatever they want, but the reality is that I'm struggling to survive living just from open source donations. So if your company is using any of stuff which I'm working with, just contribute, like share this link to your financial guy and tell that you are relying on this stuff. That's pretty much what I want everybody to do. Because, as I say, it's really hard to spend a lot of time in the open source and earn $50 a month. So yeah, keep it up. Next week I'm gonna to be in Computer History Museum, not as an kind of attendee. Um, it's very cool museum. I like it very much. But this time I'm gonna to talk about Terraform and AWS modules. Not a big surprise to most of you, I guess, but that's what I'm gonna to do. And yeah, if you are in the Bay Area and if you want to learn more about AWS cloud security and maybe Terraform, go to this website and see you there. It's free event and yeah, very cool place to be. Okay, let's move on. So I have so for today I have looked into emails. I mean, I was sick and I didn't do a lot, but I looked into emails and I opened several tabs. Hopefully, we'll be able to go through them and maybe resolve some of them. So let's see. First of all, this one, which was very recent, fixed possible values for HTTP version input. Uh, well, who is this? I guess his name is Ahmad. Ahmad's suggestion that allowed values are not just HTTP 1.1 but also HTTP 2 and 3. Is this really the case? I mean, I'm not following this resource so much, but if it is the case, then we need to update documentation to match it. We can go to the registry, and this is gonna to be, come on, my amazing internet. Of course, I need to click somewhere here. So I'm interested in CloudFront distribution. This one, and yeah, it's right. So there are several allowed values. Okay, when this was introduced, let's go to the changelog and see HTTP version. So this was added in 4.27. That's good to know. So we need to update minimum version of this module, right? Okay. Yeah, and it's failing, of course. Okay, so let's fix this one instead of instead of asking user to contribute. So 106 is a number. Let's go to the code and see cloud front, check out 106, and somewhere here cloud front. So minimum version, that's what we see. It should be 427. 427, but we are already relying on 429, so which is good. So then we only need to update description inside of variable, and variable is called HTTP version. HTTP version, right? This is it. Right. So these values should be updated inside of Terraform code, and then it will be updated as well in the README. Updating just in README is not enough. Okay, let's run this code now just to see that it works as expected. Probably it does. And git commit update. For me, it's much easier to talk not so loud and not so emotionally. So that's why it's easy for me to speak loud, not to speak loud, to speak quiet. Okay, git push, and that's it. Right. And we refresh it somewhere here. Right, and that's pretty much it. So we can say thank you, Ahmed. and then it will be merged. Okay, what else can be done? Let's look into another one. Uh, another one. Yeah, let's look into random. So this one is inside of Lambda. There is new argument which is introduced. Are you using git hook left hook for pre-commit checks? Yes, I'm using it. Let me show it to you. I like when people ask questions. I don't know why, but I like it. So here we are. There is file pre-commit config, which will be executed. We have this file in all repositories, and it will be executed in the time when I run git commit, because it's pre-commit. And these hooks are already installed by me running command a very long time ago, which is called install hooks, pre-commit install hooks. So when I run this command a long time ago, what it did, it created some files inside of, I think it's somewhere here. Right, yeah, it's somewhere here inside of folder.git hooks and then pre-commit. So this file was created. Let me see what is inside of this file. Yeah, so this file is essentially the invocation of pre-commit framework. Pre-commit framework is separate thing. It's not related to Terraform, or it's like independent project completely. But pre-commit Terraform project, which I'm referring here, is the collection of all of these hooks which are related to Terraform. And there are some generic pre-commit hooks. Yeah. So if you need to do some automation, you can run pre-commit install hooks and then continue using GitHub like normally. It's quite easy. Yeah. Okay, let's go back. First of all, this one is already cool, and Ahmed approves. So that's good. Right. Well, actually, it's not a fix because it's not fix of the code itself. It's just documentation update, which is usually a chore or docs, but not fix, because fix will trigger patch version increment. But it's okay. Fine. So let's go back to this one. So what this means is that configuration options to replace security group on destroy. Yeah, this is pretty big feature. I remember, if I remember correctly now, when so we had this example before. We attach security group there, and yeah, and that's it. When we need to delete it, instead of so it will be just quicker, first of all, and it will be in some cases helping you to not wait like, I don't know, 10, 20, 40 minutes, as far as I remember. So replace security group on destroy is false by default. Why it is false? When true, all security groups defined in ID will be replaced with the default security group after the function is destroyed. Set the replacement security group IDs variable to use custom list. What? No, it was not so emotional. What? Oh, well, my voice is funny. Okay, and replacement security group IDs is a list of security group IDs to assign to or fend Lambda function network interface upon destruction. Must be set to true to use this attribute. Okay. Well, looks looks decent. I'm a little bit unsure uh, why this is replacement security. Yeah, I'm not sure I understand even what happens. Let's see. Like my current reaction is that I thought I understand what's happening, but at which point of time will this security group be used? According to the explanation here, it says um, all security groups will be replaced. I mean, if I specify to use some security groups, they will be replaced after the function is destroyed. Well, after the function is destroyed, I don't care what's happening there. Right? I mean, no. Yeah, well, let's blame that I'm sick and I don't understand what's going on. It's easier. But in reality, replace security group on destroy. Well, if it's destroy, who cares about what are you going to replace them for? Yeah, I don't understand this yet, but it's not first time, so let's look into into the explanation. Oh my God, I even said that this is good idea. Pull request is welcome. What? What did I agree with? Oh my God, and people like it. Oh my God, people even asking me to do a review. All right, okay, so let's read one more time. Destroying VPC associated lambdas take long time because of waiting for security groups. Yeah, that's true. Uh, that is okay. Yeah, that's good. That's good to hear that for you there is no way to go back. Okay, let's see. Let's read this explanation. Maybe it makes sense here. So by itself, this attribute will replace all security groups defined with default security groups after the function is destroyed. But after function is destroyed, who cares about it? Well, I mean, during the lambda function destroy operation, that's okay. But after, I don't understand. If this attribute is configured, these groups are used instead of default. Hmm. Okay, this issue was originally intended to provide. We feel it has now served that purpose. Which purpose? Right, so anyway, it is related to the ancient bug which we had for, well, more than 3 years now, which is hilarious. And the bug is related to the deletion of lambda functions, right? Yeah, I mean, the configuration is quite simple. Let's look into a version where this was introduced. It was 454. Let's see. 454. 454, here is it. So add these two attributes, and that's pretty simple, right? Yeah. Okay, so this is simple here. Can something go wrong with this one? Well, I don't think that there is much to talk about it other than why this is false. That's what I'm not really sure I understand. I mean, is it possible to make it as improvement? Because for most people, as I understand, they will want to have replace security group on destroy. True. At least that's how I understand it right now. Because we want to delete this thing quicker. So let's see, lambda function. Yes, so this is a thing which is related to 45 minutes deletion timeout, which was pretty cool. Okay, so here we are. Right, so whether to replace the security groups unassociated. Removing these security groups from or fand lambda can speed up security group deletion times by avoiding a dependency. Yeah, that's right. By default, the ENI security groups will be replaced with default security group. That's cool. And set the replacement. Right, so can this be true? I think so. I don't see where it says somewhere here that default option is disabled. So because it says by default ENI will be replaced with default security group in the functions VPC. That's pretty much cool. So what I'm trying to say is that instead of being very smart here and coming up with defaults like this one, it's always better to let Terraform provider decide. Let Terraform AWS provider decide which default value is best. I don't think there is an issue, e.g. break, if we use true as default. It doesn't seem to me that it will have oh my god, the hardest word in existence, consequences. Ta-da! Oh my god, did I write it correct? Unbelievable. Okay, it doesn't seem to me that it will have bad consequences for users. Right, okay, I think that's so let Terraform provider decide which default value is best. According to the documentation, I didn't quite understand it's so yeah, so precisely. Anyway, I don't think this is going to bring issues. There is no, I don't think there are. Oh my god, there is an issue if we use. It doesn't seem to be. Yeah, I think that's it. And this is yeah. So thank you very much, Ricardo, for adding this. It's potentially mergeable, but minor thing which I think you can fix quite quickly. Okay, let's move on. This one was literally 1 hour ago. Let's time for coffee. Okay, time for coffee is over. let's move on. Right, so add support for new regions in ELB IAM policy, and we are talking about S3 bucket. Since regions created after August 2022, the S3 policy to allow has changed. Here is the documentation. Let's see. Step 2. To avoid this problem, I suggest these changes in the following files. That's scary. We are talking about as little coupling between different services as possible inside of terraform-aws-modules. It's already enough that S3 bucket accept argument like attach LB log policy, yes or no. And as soon as it's attached, it should attach it. So the change proposed here, where we are specifying different different what? Oh my god. No, I don't understand this. So we need to figure out one canonical statement for situations when when bucket was created or when region was created. Regions available before right, so the difference here as I can see no, we need to the thing is that when you make a bucket and you give it away to somebody and say, hey, this is your ALB bucket, please write whatever you want, you don't have to go back to them and say, hey, which regions are you going to write it from? Right? I mean, it's just stupid discussion. Instead, we need to figure out how to merge these two principles here and here, and that's it. The rest seems to be identical. The resources are going to be stored in the same way, right? Yeah, okay, again, and outpost zones, they have another condition here. So we may need to group these two policies into one, and if I look into this code here, we will have bucket statement like this, but when it says so if we add this variable and we say set it to true, then we accept yeah, this is wrong. Again, when I'm making S3 bucket, I should not think about which region is it gonna to be expecting or allowing from. So how to write the question is how to write access log policy or S3 bucket policy which will work for both regions. That's the question. And to solve this question, let's look into the code. So let's look into line, well, into this module. There is already a pull request for this one? No. Sometimes people write pull requests. No, there is no pull request. Oh, that's very creative. Let's see, what is it? Oh, that's so good. I love this kind of changes, really to the point, where somebody changed just, or maybe they learn Vim 21v 12. Yeah, looks like that. Anyway, it was very productive. Thank you for that. Right, so let's take a look in the code and see um, how to write policy so that it can be used for both regions, old and new. So 217 was an issue, but there is no code, so we can just look into S3 bucket. Somewhere here. Somewhere here. Right, so here we are. We are attaching access log delivery policy for the service. Fine. And for this principle. Looks good. Okay. What else do we have? Okay, so let's start with example. As always, it's just much simpler. So if I look into complete example, I don't need everything here. So I'm gonna to delete a lot of stuff. It's gonna to be about this attach ELB log delivery policy, right? So I'm only curious about this log bucket module and where it is used. So I'm gonna to comment out a lot of code which is irrelevant for now. A lot of code is just not needed for CloudFront. Okay, and of course output as well is not needed here. Okay, so examples complete. Okay, here we are. And now if I run terraform apply, I should see 5 resources created. Let's see what kind of resources are there. Yeah, well, these 2 policies are okay. We don't care about them right now. Let's see one more time. So yeah, policy for deny insecure transport, policy for some other log delivery, load balancer, application load balancer, and then S3 bucket, and attaching it. Yeah, everything is pretty simple. So let's make it. And of course we need to remove EC2 platforms because it's not needed anymore. Okay. Yeah, right, it was created. Good. So now what we need to do, let's see, if I have this ELB log delivery policy and if I just change this policy, like my first idea is, hey, let's introduce another one and call it attach ELB log delivery policy for new regions. That's too much. Again, humans should not think so much how internally it is implemented. They say, hey, I'm going to write ELB logs. Amazing, here you are, and just write it somewhere. So what can we do here? We can add to we can add another statement somewhere here and write it as Daniel proposed. So I'm gonna to copy this code from him. No, where is my code? Here it is, right? So service and identities is like this. That's it. So this is pretty much change. Maybe see it should be different. Let's see. Because now it's identical, probably not good. But okay, we add one more block. See this. That's it. Yeah. Okay. So when we have this statement here, what can possibly go wrong? What do we actually allow by adding this statement for regions where this is not the case? Well, we don't do anything bad as far as I can say, because we are allowing to upload this this principle, I mean this service, which is called elastic load balancing, to this bucket. That's pretty much what we want. Why do we have this? Let's add comment and tell that this is needed for regions after this is needed policy for AWS regions created after, right? And this is created before August 22. And maybe I'll give an example of what kind of uh, regions were created after. Of course, not everybody need to know them, but it's a good idea. Yeah. Mm. Mm. I'm gonna to just put some names here. I mean some region names here. Oh my god, that's too much. So US East, people know about it, of course. Just as an example, let's take one from each region. Singapore, just because it's a great place to be. Sydney, because I have never been there. Okay, well, I have never been there. Well, actually, most regions I have never been there. But okay. Ireland, because it's my default region. And yeah, and that's enough. Right. Okay, it should be good amount of information. So policy for AWS regions created before, blah, 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 and policy created after. That's it. Right, should be good. Okay, let's see. that's yeah, that's pretty much it, right? We don't have to make condition here and do like and add this policy for some cases, right? I don't think so, because then we would need to do a little bit more magic here. Yeah, I think it's fine like this, and this is again not gonna to do anything for people who are using this module already. It will just update policy, but it will not destroy anything. Okay, yeah, it was a little bit too optimistic, but okay. I just wanted to destroy it, and I always destroy with auto approve, because what can possibly go wrong? Good, good. It was deleted correctly, and now I'm happy to commit this. Did I do any changes? No, that should be fine. No, of course it's not a master. Oh, git checkout. Is it fix or is it a feature? Let's make it as a feature because people don't want to have surprises during minor releases. So it's going to be new regions in policy ALB. Added new for latest regions. Okay. Let's see. How even? I usually use GitHub utility for that. I don't have to push it. I just run ghpr create and it opens pull request like it just did. Then I go somewhere here and mention that it's fix 217. It doesn't introduce. Okay, trick. Let's see how it looks. Looks amazing as always. No, I don't need to approve it, of course. But it would be fun to make pull requests and approve it. It's like when people like their own tweets and post on social networks. I always laugh when you tweet and then you like it and then you retweet it again. It's like three people talking. Okay, let's see. Squash. Oh my god. I forgot to read the question before I click merge. But Ignacio is asking, is that IAM role policy for S3 bucket? No, it's actually S3 bucket policy, which is attached conditionally based on variables. So if users say that they want to receive ELB logs delivered to this S3 bucket, they need to give certain permissions to the bucket so that ELB service can write into it. So it's bucket policy, IAM document. I had so much problems. Then, let's see. I am for code build and S3 and for ECS. Well, it's three different things. I find that I am for S3 historically was very complicated. Well, actually, S3 is itself pretty complicated. But bucket policies are rather straightforward way of controlling access to my mind. But if you have specific questions, of course, right, maybe I will be able to answer. Okay, let's see. This one is amazing and it's fixed. And this issue has been resolved. Ta-da. Okay, one more thing. Oh yeah, that's quite interesting. Here we have, let's click update. Right, so yeah, that's something what I was thinking actually when I received this issue. I mean, I sometimes read them and think about them kind of in background for a few days or sometimes week. What it means is that the need to add depends on between different resources within S3 bucket module. For me, is an indicator that Terraform is not implementing S3 or AWS service consistency pattern so perfectly. This means that when we are about to, like, let me extend this code. Right, so when I extend this code, oh, I didn't know what I just did. Anyway, uh, when we are making use of different resources like S3 bucket, and then we are attaching login to this bucket, or we are attaching some ACL to this bucket and so on, we are always specifying that, hey, we are talking about this bucket. So we are talking about this resource. For me, that's exactly what we should be doing, and that's exactly what should be respected here. But in this case, the pull request is adding depends on between not resource which is specified here, but it's between resource which is S3 bucket ownership controls, which is not mentioned anywhere inside of the arguments or values of this S3 bucket ACL. So this artificial connection or dependent was added specifically to circumnavigate the issues which we have issues which is not implemented properly in Terraform AWS provider. Nevertheless, we already have depends on for different things here. For example, we need to have bucket ownership only after we create certain things like bucket policy, access control, and bucket. When all of this is created, then we are changing bucket control ownership, right? So if I now look what depends on, do we have it in other places? Yeah, we also have it inside of lifecycle configuration, where we are able to add lifecycle configuration only when versioning is enabled, right? Again, common sense. So this depends on is to prevent access control list not supported. So instead, remember how it was in version 3 of no 3 or 2, I already forgot, of AWS provider, where we had one huge S3 bucket module, no resource, and it has like I don't know, hundreds of different inputs of crazy structures, But at least the whole implementation was uh, inside of Terraform AWS provider, and users didn't have to know about who is like what kind of resources required and which order and so on. So that's why we need to add this this solution. So overall, I think it's a good solution. There is not much to think about it. Mm, is it how many people are involved here? Right. Okay. So several people are talking, which is good. And Um, let's see what Philip 3 days ago wrote. The bucket doesn't allow ACLs. Uh, yeah. So while it was working in the past, it can be the situation that implementation of this specific feature on AWS side has changed. Or, for example, since everything is so much distributed, uh, it can happen that API calls were received in different orders. So that's why we need to use this depends on hack and tell Terraform to really wait for something. Okay, in this case, CL. Mm, yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's a simple thing. Nothing, nothing bad, nothing crazy can happen here. Uh, is it a feature or is it a fix? It's probably a fix actually. It's not a feature. It's again, it's not gonna to break anything for people. Uh, yeah, it's actually fixed the issue with ACL's configuration update. Yeah, that's better. Okay, and and that's it. Yeah, good. Okay, and let's say thank you, Pavlo, for this discovery and fix. You see, it works like this. Okay, let's see something else. I think I have uh, event bridge. Event bridge, is it? Well, isn't it done? Why this is not merged? I don't understand. I looked into this one last week, and as far as I remember, I didn't find anything bad here. Uh, let's just merge it. I don't know why I didn't merge it 7 days ago. Let's enable add-in. Looks perfect, maybe a bit too long, but still perfect. Ah, right, sorry, it's not fixed, it's a new feature. But anyway, it's not gonna to break anything because I just add a new argument. Okay, one more thing. Somewhere here in Lambda. Lambda is crazy. Lambda is used so actively, I can see. So I need to probably prioritize it a little bit more. Okay, let's see. Lambda consumer group ID config. What? Okay, let's see. Where is this code? 399. This one is the solution. And oh yeah, I forgot to click this mute button, but okay, we can cut it later. Uh, okay, here we are. So, what is this? Add Amazon managed config and self-managed configuration blocks. Okay, the configuration blocks self-managed Kafka are not considered by the module. That's true. Um, okay, all right. So, see, Ignacio is asking, can you please give some advice for junior DevOps? Well, um, I guess my main advice is try to solve real things. And of course, you can go to different boot camps if you are this kind of person. But my recommendation is that most of these places where you are forced to do real things will teach you a lot more than just any bootcamp will teach you in the vacuum. And what I mean by doing something real is even if you look into the project, like for example this one, terraform-aws-modules, you try to understand how certain things are uh, written, how they're used, and so on. It will give you more practical experience in the long run. Of course, it will not give you a job right away, while some bootcamp may give you a job as soon as you finish it. But the amount of knowledge which you receive from this is significantly bigger. Another place which I usually recommend to people is like if you're very new, uh, I will be on the operation side of the DevOps. So I guess maintenance of operation system, patching, and so on. So somewhere here, if we go to DevOps, so roadmap.sh/DevOps, and here if you say, where is this? Patching operation system. Yeah, here is it, operation system. Yeah. Overall, if you go to this URL, you will understand at least what kind of stuff is there. I don't think and I don't expect you to know all of this. Like, of course, none of us know all of this by heart, but at least you should be able to understand in which part it is. Like when somebody mentioned, hey, ls off, you should be able at least to understand, like, oh my god, what is ls off? And you can see, like, okay, this is it, and read about it. Of course, there are many different ways into this, but this is very good overview and starting point. You can also, which is pretty new thing here, if let's say you learned about ls off, you click mark as done, and then it's removed from here, and then you see, okay, what is Vim, Nano, PowerShell, Emacs? So you learn about this, you click all these URLs, and then you say, okay, done. So by the end of the month, you should have pretty good understanding of what is done. I guess if I refresh my page, it's not deleted. Yes, it's not deleted. So it's stored somewhere inside of local storage, I guess. Okay, so yeah, check it out, and I'm pretty sure that you will be able to understand what is the scope at least. Okay, so mm, so we are talking about self-managed Kafka event configs, right? And right, okay. So when this Amazon managed Kafka was introduced, 429, which version of provider are we requiring now? More than 429, so which is good. So we don't need to worry about this one. Mm, Now the biggest question is how to try this out. And I am not surprised that this is disabled here because I don't have self-managed Kafka, right? I need to spin it up somehow, wait for some time. Well, that's why it's not gonna to be possible for me to test. But let's see one more time. Is it inside of event source mapping resource? Yes. Self-managed event source. And I'm thinking what kind of stuff should we update inside of this example? Should we update anything here? Probably it doesn't make a lot of sense because anyway, I'm not creating this Kafka magic anyway inside of this example, just because it's too complicated and yeah, never had possibility to do this. Okay. Okay, good. So now it will run and probably it will be green. Right. Right. So hopefully it will be green and I can just merge it. Yeah. And by the way, are there other things inside of a Lambda event source mapping which we may want to add? Scaling config. I don't know if we have it. But this is sometimes a pretty complicated challenge. By the time when I write this module, I used all possible arguments and attributes and everything was like connected. But then I was happy with it and I didn't contribute more. And then after some time, of course, new functionality being added to the provider, and it became a little bit like a race. So that's why from time to time people opening different pull requests, adding new functionality. So yeah, most of these things is supported and added already. Okay, let's see. Does it work? And by the way, version 1.4 was released. Maybe I have some points which I want to highlight. Let me check. I read change logs, of course, every time, but I looked into this one a couple times and I didn't find anything so exciting. Where is this? Come on, changelog 1.4. Right. Uh, so this is release notes. Inside of this one, what I wanted to find. Yeah, one which is kind of relevant to my mind is that when we used -JSON mode, we received most of information inside of JSON, but still there were some strange phrases like state locking and releasing being not as JSON. So it means that we could not store everything inside of JSON document and then process it using JQ, which was a bit strange, but okay. Not very often when you need to do this anyway. Okay, and one more which is pretty promising. I didn't look in details, but it's sometimes the case when we want to do something with, let's say, coalesce or count number of elements inside of collection. We don't really know if it's going to be a collection like an empty collection or it can be null. For some cases, it's really irrelevant. But if they say that it's going to be fixing inconsistent behavior, I'm pretty happy because then I don't need to wrap it with try around and I can just say, hey, what's length of this var dot blah blah blah, and it will figure out that it's 0 even if it's provided as a null, which is quite handy. Again, less code to write. And this one I'm not really a big fan of because having Terraform and Terraform Cloud connected for me is a bad indicator, and I can see that there are several mentions of of Terraform Cloud, which is kind of understandable from business point of view, but as a user, I would still prefer to have Terraform open source as possible. Okay. Yes, and this one is pretty neat. So it's built-in managed resource type, which means that when we use null resource, we don't need to think about separate provider and version it somehow. Now it's part of Terraform data. Terraform data is the same as null resource. Again, I didn't use it, but I like the idea is that everything what we use provider for is now part of core. Well, of course, not everything. Another one which I find very cool, again, it's mostly used for different tools, like what we're using it for. Currently, we are working on modules.tf, which is Visual Studio Code extension for Terraform, and we will be relying on this functionality as well, because we don't want to parse source code of Terraform in order to figure out different functions and their logic. Okay, I think it's pretty cool for many people. And one more, which is related to the Lambda function itself. I'm pretty sure a lot of people will appreciate it if you can use it, of course. Like we cannot use it in terraform-aws-modules for obvious reasons. Well, obvious reason is that there are people using Terraform 1.0 still, or 0.13 to be honest. Okay, local exec provisioners received quite argument, which means that Terraform will not print entire command to std out during plan, which is pretty cool. I really like it. And what else? Let's see, just one second. Okay, and one more. I'm a bit skeptical about this backend HTTP, which adds support for mutual TLS authentication. Why? Because historically there were no notion of HTTPS. Everything was through HTTP. So I guess it's a step in the right direction, but I need to take a look into this one. And and some emphasis about YAML and code, which was working great before, and now it will be working even better. That's pretty much my summary of this one. Uh, in the foreseen future, there will be, of course, a lot of patch releases and so on. So I'm not sure how they will impact us. But for now, that's pretty much it. Okay, let's move on to this one. Right, so this is okay. Uh, hello to Sif, big fan here. Hello to Sif, big fan there. And can you please check this repo? It's mine. It's project terraform docker code build AWS. I'm newbie. Oh yeah, sure. Let me just click couple merges here and then I will look into that one. So yeah, 1.4 seems to work fine. Okay, so let's see. I need to go to github.com/m prod something like this. Mm. Emerald. Emerald. Almost. Here we are. Let's take a look. SoftServe. I think I know this company. Okay. So yeah, Ignacio is saying, can you check this repository? URL. Yes. Okay. So let's see what exactly I can look. For reaching this goal, I use the following tool. Right, so this is DevOps Academy final project, deploy an application in Docker on AWS using Terraform. Sounds pretty cool, but a little bit far-fetched. I mean, it's disconnected from the reality. But okay. I mean, the reality is that you will do this probably once and then take care of all of this independently forever. Okay, let's look into some of the Terraform code. Maybe it will be interesting for other people as well. All right, so here we are. Don't use hyphen inside of names of variables. It's really confusing. It's confusing because it's mathematical operation, especially when you are going to reference it. And also, don't hesitate to apply pre-commit hooks to make it look nicer. Anyway, here we are looking into invocation of several modules, and yeah, for very different services. Good, probably. I wouldn't do this way, but for now that's good. Let's go to modules, backend, and see backend. Well, I guess it's backend for Terraform State, which is already existing module, so you can use it. And the thing here is that if I read this description, well, I'm not going to read it to be honest, but here when I see steps like comment, backend, blah blah blah, comment, and apply, and then uncomment something and apply it one more time and have a good life. This is wrong. It should be two different folders. One folder which is called bootstrap, it's not because you're not using TerraGrant. We are talking just about Terraform. So there are two folders. One folder which is called Bootstrap, where you are creating whatever is necessary, like S3 bucket and DynamoDB table or whatever else. And then second folder, which is going to be your main thing, which will contain code build, ECR, ECS, and so on. Initial build. No, I thought this is maybe what I'm talking about, but no, you don't have this folder here. But again, this there are many different ways, but the point here is that you should not modify and okay, if you should modify, where should you modify it? On your local machine or on CI server or use some automation? No, it's okay. You can run Bootstrap once in automation the way it is written in the GitHub uh, repository. Run it, you'll have something created. Then go to the application and have the rest of this created. So if we look into code build module alone, again, don't try to be creative here. Put everything lowercase. Yeah, that's my suggestion. Like here, GitHub, perfect. Project, perfect. Ordering of this meta arguments, like depends on lifecycle blocks, is good for readability. If you want, you can go to Terraform best practice, and I describe it somewhere in code styling here. No, not code styling. Where is it? In naming conventions, probably. Yeah, naming conventions. I have described it in details. Okay, well, you are doing a lot of magic inside of code build. I don't know what actually was point of this one, like who asked you to do all of this, because there are modules for all of this. And what as soon as you start understand that your job as a junior DevOps engineer is to not come up with crazy solution of 25,000 existing one and just come up with your own just because you can. Come on, take a look, guys. But instead, go to registry, find something what you need, use it, and move on. It will be much more productive. So I'm talking about backend. For backend, there is Cloud OC backend, this module by Cloud POSE. It works great, and all you need to do is just to invoke it like this, and it will create you bucket, and it will create you DynamoDB table, and it will also provide a lot of documentation for you, like you will understand how things are actually built. When it comes to code build, I don't have any module available for that, but I'm pretty sure you can find something. For ECR, if I open this now and you are writing your own resources here, no. Instead, use this one, put this into your configuration, into your Terraform file, and that's it. As you can see, it's doing more than your current module does. Why? Because we are taking care about different IAM policies which will be attached to it, and these policies are not so straightforward in some cases, and we are taking care about a lot of different parameters there. And yeah, life cycle and public ECR, private ECR, and many other things we are taking care of. again, that's the point of reusability. So let's see what's next. ECS. Well, ECS itself is a service which uh, interacts with a lot of other services. Other than IAM, it interacts with application load balancers or security groups, as I can see. Again, we have ECS module created. People seem to use it, and new version of ECS module is coming in the near future. Well, I don't know actually how near this future is, but here is our implementation of ECS module, which again is more complicated, more powerful, I would say. You can go to examples and understand how it actually works, like what kind of stuff you need to pass there. And again, pretty much 99% of this is optional. So don't try to impress your I don't know, teacher or who gave you this with, hey, I can read documentation and come up with my latest solution. Yes, it's limited. Yes, it doesn't have documentation. Yes, it's not implementing a lot of features which we will be needing in the near future because, well, we are evolving. But I made it. Yes, you made perfect example of how things can be written statically. But believe me or not, but you will have to update it many times. Okay, and initial build. I already looked here. Use a null resource to call make build is possible. It's pretty limited in some cases, but it will do the job. Other more powerful ways how this can be done. Now let me show you. We do this inside of here. You can use data source external and call program which can be written in any programming language, or it can be also makefile. The cool part here is that you are specifying query as a map of input arguments to it, and then you do whatever you want with this map inside of your application or your makefile, your shell script, whatever you want. So it's usually more powerful. If you are happy with this approach, what you do here, it's okay too. It will be fine and it will work. But keep in mind that using null resource will mean that you will have to think about how to trigger this one more time. Like when you change something inside of your working directory and you run this thing one more time, I mean, you run terraform apply in this folder, nothing will happen because this resource is already created. What you need to do is that you need to tell Terraform that, hey, please recreate this resource. Previously we used taint operator for that, Terraform taint, and then null resource name. Now there are some other ways, I think replace or something, I forgot. Yeah. Yeah, that's fine, I guess. Also, you would impress a lot of people, including myself, if you write at least one line of documentation anywhere near Terraform files. At least one line. For example, env. Env. What is env? Env of my environment, your environment, code deploy environment. What is it? Kaimata. Hello. Yeah. Well, yeah. Oh, yeah, no. Oh my God, come on. Line 74, you actually wrote description. That's amazing. So forget everything what I just said. I take my all my words back. Right. GitHub OAuth token. That sounds nice. Do you have it committed somewhere? No, it's not committed anywhere. Why? Did you forget to commit it? Or do you want me to run terraform apply and it will tell? I mean, first of all, it will fail because GitHub OAuth token has default value as empty. But in fact, you are probably relying it somewhere inside of maybe initial build. No, somewhere else, maybe in somewhere. I don't know where, but somewhere you are relying it. Oh yeah, in code build, I guess. Right, so you are aligning it somewhere here. That's another pattern which can be used. If you need to store something secret like this, you can use one-time operation to store this secret stuff, but make sure that this stuff is not ended up in state. I mean, in order to make sure that this is not ended up in state, you may use separate folder for that, like with Bootstrap. So Bootstrap will have its own Terraform state file. Your secret may have its own Terraform state file, and so on. So just think about it, that who will have possibility to see this stuff, and yeah, and it will be simpler for you to share this information with somebody. I'm given the token in Visual Studio Code and it stores in .gitignore. Yeah, that's right. I understand that it's good pattern as well. But if you can, I'm actually not sure if there is a way for code build to access your GitHub using OEDC. Credentials problem. Code build. No, I don't see. Yeah, somewhere here. I was thinking to find an information that you can specify ways how you can import your source credentials without involving Terraform. For example, you may establish some connection between GitHub, OpenID Connect, and connect it to AWS Code Build. But I don't think it's supported. Maybe it's, yeah, maybe it's supported. It says here, OAuth, GitHub. Yeah, well, you need to take a look into this one. But the point is that you have to try to avoid providing your secret, which is really your, even if it's inside of your gitignore, you should not remember about it and like, oh my god, I forgot to push it, or I push it too hard. Now the whole internet knows my secret. So yeah, look into different ways to connect code build. Yeah, I have not used code build for ages, so maybe they added some support. Yep. Okay, I think that's it for today. Yeah, I think it was very good, good time spending. I didn't cough so much, but still, I sound like Donald Duck sometimes, which is okay. Hopefully, I will see some of you next week. Thank you, Kaimata, and yeah, thank you for joining, and thank you very much, Ignacio, for yeah, giving me some input and some kind of showing your stuff because that's exactly what I'm interested in providing feedback. Cool. Have a great day, everyone, and see you around.